I think the most striking detail here isn't simply that Ethan has returned, but how he has chosen to return. From the very beginning, the storyline shows that his reappearance is not driven by nostalgia or emotional reconnection. Instead, it carries a sense of urgency and calculation. I feel like the moment Ethan immediately seeks out Sunny for a job, the narrative quietly signals that something is off. This is not typical behavior for someone reconnecting with old ties. This suggests that Ethan may already have a specific agenda in mind. In General Hospital, character returns are rarely accidental, and I think this situation follows that pattern closely. Ethan's actions feel deliberate. The narrative focuses on how quickly he inserts himself into Sunny's orbit, which could indicate that proximity to Sunny is essential for whatever plan he might be carrying out. I could be wrong, but this doesn't feel like coincidence. This development suggests that Ethan's return is tied to something larger than personal history. What makes this even more compelling is Rick's reaction. The episode highlights Rick's immediate suspicion toward Ethan, which stands in contrast to Sunny's more neutral or possibly pragmatic response. Rick doesn't just question Ethan casually. He actively tries to block Sunny from hiring him. This situation reflects a deeper instinct from Rick, as if he senses something beneath the surface. I think Rick's suspicion acts as a narrative cue for the audience, guiding us to question Ethan's motives as well. At the same time, the storyline shows that Sunny may not fully dismiss Rick's concerns. Instead of outright rejecting Ethan, Sunny could choose a more strategic approach. I feel like Sunny might allow Ethan into his organization while secretly working with Rick to monitor him. This suggests a layered dynamic where trust is only partial and control becomes the priority. Sunny has always been a character who balances instinct with strategy, so this kind of decision would align with how he is portrayed. Ethan, however, doesn't come across as naive in this situation. The narrative focuses on his awareness and adaptability. If Sunny and Rick are indeed watching him, this development suggests that Ethan might eventually realize he is being monitored. I think this is where the tension begins to escalate significantly. Because once Ethan understands that his position is compromised, his actions could become more unpredictable. And this leads directly to Kristina. The storyline shows that Kristina is not just a random character in this situation. She has a personal history with Ethan. Their past relationship becomes a crucial element here. I feel like this emotional connection creates vulnerability. This suggests that Kristina could be an easier target for manipulation, not because she is weak, but because there is unresolved history between them. If Ethan chooses to manipulate Kristina, this situation reflects a shift in his character portrayal. He is no longer just a returning figure with unclear motives. He becomes someone willing to exploit emotional bonds to achieve his goals. I think this is where the narrative starts to darken, because targeting Kristina is not just strategic, it is deeply personal. The possibility of kidnapping raises the stakes even further. The episode highlights a scenario where Ethan may act preemptively, especially if he feels that Sunny and Rick are getting too close to uncovering his intentions. I could be wrong, but this feels like a turning point. This development could influence the entire direction of the storyline, pushing it from suspicion into direct conflict. What I find particularly interesting is the question of Ethan's true allegiance. The narrative focuses on hints that he may not be acting alone. There is a possibility that he is connected to the WSB or even working secretly for Sidwell. I think this ambiguity is intentional. It keeps the audience guessing while also expanding the scope of the story beyond Port Charles. If Ethan is tied to a larger organization, this suggests that his actions are part of a broader mission. His attempt to get close to Sunny could be a calculated move to weaken or take down Sunny from within. I feel like this adds a layer of political or organizational intrigue to the narrative. It's no longer just about personal drama, it becomes about power and control. However, Ethan's potential mistake drawing attention to himself too quickly creates a vulnerability. The storyline shows that even well-planned strategies can unravel if executed imperfectly. I think this is where the kidnapping of Kristina might come into play as a desperate measure. This suggests that Ethan could be trying to regain control of the situation by creating leverage. Kristina, in this context, becomes more than a victim. The character is portrayed as someone caught in the intersection of past relationships and present danger. I feel like her role in this storyline could evolve significantly. If she's kidnapped, this development suggests that she may become a key figure in exposing Ethan's true motives depending on how she responds to the situation. At the same time, Sunny and Rick face a complicated challenge. The episode highlights the lack of concrete evidence against Ethan. Even if they suspect him, they may not be able to act openly. I think this creates a tension where they are forced to operate in uncertainty. This situation reflects the limitations of power when information is incomplete. What makes this even more intense is the potential risk to Kristina's life. If Ethan is pushed into a corner, this suggests that he might take extreme actions to protect himself. I feel like the narrative is setting up a scenario where the stakes are not just emotional, but life-threatening. This development could influence how far Sunny and Rick are willing to go to uncover the truth. From a structural perspective, I think the storyline is carefully layering its conflicts. First, there is suspicion, then surveillance, then escalation through potential kidnapping. The narrative focuses on gradually increasing tension rather than immediate confrontation. I could be wrong, but this pacing feels deliberate. It allows each character's motivations to unfold in a way that keeps the audience engaged. Ethan, in particular, is portrayed with a sense of ambiguity. The character is portrayed as neither fully villainous nor clearly innocent. I feel like this complexity is what makes him compelling. This suggests that his actions may be driven by factors that have not yet been fully revealed. Whether those factors are loyalty, coercion, or personal ambition remains unclear. Kristina's involvement, however, brings an emotional core to the story. The storyline shows that her connection to Ethan is not just a plot device. It is a lens through which the audience can explore themes of trust, betrayal, and vulnerability. I think this is where the narrative gains depth, because it is not just about what happens, but how it affects the characters emotionally. In my opinion, the potential kidnapping is not just about creating drama, it is about forcing all characters into decisive action. This development suggests that Sunny and Rick may have to move beyond observation and take risks. At the same time, Ethan may be forced to reveal more of his true intentions. I could be wrong, but it feels like the storyline is building toward a major reveal. The narrative focuses on maintaining uncertainty while dropping subtle clues. Whether Ethan is working for the WSB, Sidwell, or acting independently, the truth seems to be something the story is deliberately holding back. Overall, I think this plotline works because it balances mystery with personal stakes. The storyline shows that every action has both strategic and emotional consequences. Ethan's return is not just a plot twist. It is a catalyst that reshapes relationships and raises the stakes for everyone involved. And if this trajectory continues, I feel like the situation will only become more volatile. This suggests that trust will continue to erode, alliances may shift, and the dangers surrounding Kristina could intensify. This is just my interpretation, but the narrative appears to be setting up a conflict where no one is completely safe and no motive is entirely clear.